Hi friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Han and I'm a professional embroidery artist. But today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Over the past few months, I found myself hyperfixating on a certain hobby that keeps popping up on my TikTok feed, on my YouTube channel. And today I'm going to try combining my love of embroidery with the wonderful art of bookbinding. In the case of this video, it's going to be rebinding this particular book. This book series really got me back into reading as an adult, so it had to be the first one that I worked on when combining my love of embroidery and my new hyperfixation of bookbinding. This is a quick disclaimer to any professional, semi-professional, semi-decent bookbinders that might stumble across this video. I have less than no idea of what I'm doing. I've just watched an obscene amount of bookbinding videos on TikTok and YouTube, and now I have somehow convinced myself that I'll be able to do this myself. Not to mention the fact that I've yet to come across one video that covers anything to do with hand-embroidered book covers, but that's neither here nor there. So before I start anything, I'm going to show you guys the materials that I'm working with and give you kind of a brief idea of where I'm going with this project. Usually what happens when I become hyperfixated on a new hobby or interest, I'll line the pockets of Jeff Bezos and I will just Amazon Prime everything needed. This time I've decided to be a little bit more frugal and use only items found around my house to do this bookbinding project, which I think is going to be quite interesting. However, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am a professional embroidery artist and I do embroider every single day for a living. So I did have a lot of the embroidery supplies needed to create the front cover, the spine and the back cover of the book, which I'll show you now quickly. You're going to have some vision while I show you these because right now they just look like big pieces of fabric. This is going to be our front cover, and then this is going to go inside the little oval on the front cover. This is going to be our spine, and this is going to be our back cover. This was a project to get me back into enjoying embroidery as a passion and a hobby again. So I've been working on these every night after work, just a couple of hours here and there. They have taken me a couple of weeks to complete. So if you're thinking about trying this out for yourself, definitely give yourself enough time to complete this project. Okay, now I've shown you the embroidery bits, I'll just go over some of the other bits and pieces that we're going to be using. Trusty glue gun, extra material because I'm not 100% sure how I am going to do this yet. I'm kind of just winging this, guys, in case you couldn't tell. I'm going to be cutting up this box for the front cover, the back cover and the spine. I'm going to be using this Cheerios box. This is a Honey Nut Cheerio household. I had this PVA glue lying around. I have read and seen in the multitude of videos that I've watched about bookbinding that the PVA glue that you use should be acid free. Does not say whether it's acid free or not, so I guess we'll just see. I'll be using this handy dandy slicer thingy to cut up my cardboard pieces. I believe I'll be needing a ruler. And of course the blessed scripture itself. I think that's everything. I've probably forgotten something, and this list is also subject to change as I'm kind of just lying by the seat of my pants here. So let's dive right in. Hi friends, it's voiceover Han here. As you can see, I'm starting to cut up the Honey Nut Cheerios box. To get these measurements, I basically just measured the front, the back, and the spine of the original cover on the ACOTAR book, and then I added like ½ an inch so there would be some overhang. That's what all the subreddits told me to do. As well as TikTok and YouTube, I have been all over Reddit looking tirelessly through bookbinding subreddits. I used my slicer to make sure I got all the edges clean. Sometimes when I cut cardboard with scissors, it just ends up so messy, so I'm really glad that I had this thing lying around. Now I'm starting on prepping the embroidery bits. Why did I do that so aggressively? Oh, this pen that I'm using is an absolute lifesaver if you're doing an embroidery project like this. The blue end will disappear if you spray it with a little bit of water, and then the purple end disappears when it's exposed to warm air. I left like 1 centimeter of space between the line that I drew and where I cut. This is because I need a little bit of overhang from the fabric since I'm going to tuck it behind and secure it to the cardboard. I really hope that made sense. I'm going to go in and also trim up all of my embroidery pieces. This is where the glue gun comes in. Careful not to burn your fingers. Right, now we're seeing why I left a little bit of extra fabric. You see how I'm gonna like fold it around the Cheerios box now? I also opted for a different technique because my fingers were burning when I was touching the hot glue. So I'm just using the handle of my small scissors to press the fabric into the glue. I'm trying to keep the fabric as taut as possible. And then I'm going to go in and secure the sides, making sure everything's glued down nicely. Oh, and then this is what I was on about, that pen. You see me spraying it with water and it just disappears. It's like magic. I also actually went in and added a little bit more embroidery around the oval shape, mainly because I spilled a little bit of glue and I had to cover it up, but I think it worked out pretty well. Now I'm gluing the little title in. The spine was one of the easiest parts. I basically just had to make sure the fabric was straight and glue up the sides and secure the fabric down at the back. I'm using the trusty scissor handle method again. It will save your fingertips. Oh, and I also had this little pendant lying around that I thought I could make into a bookmark. So I just embroidered a little teacup sitting in a bunch of roses underneath the moon and stars. A little bit of a night court reference, a little bit of a surreal reference. Just trimming up the back cover now. And gluing it onto the Cheerio box cardboard. Those scissors saved my life. I decided to use the quote, "There you are, I've been looking for you," for the back cover of the book. It is one of my favourite quotes from the first book. And then here I'm just kind of assembling all the pieces, making sure I got the measurements right. So to actually attach it to the book, I had this idea that I would just do like a cloth bound hardcover as the base and then attach those little panels that I'd already done. You'll get the vision. The bookbinding subreddits told me to leave a couple of millimeters between the spine and each of the covers. Ugh, look how crusty that glue gun is. Since this fabric isn't going to be seen, I glued it directly onto this thicker cardboard. As you can see, it kind of seeps through the fabric, so I'm glad that I didn't just glue the front covers onto the cardboard like this, the ones that are going to be visible. I made sure that I could open and close this base cover before I assembled the panels on and just made sure everything fit. And then I put my glue gun to work again, attaching all of the panels to the base cover. What's not captured on film here is me putting my entire body weight on each of the panels to make sure I secured them down enough. Oh, and I know everybody who's ever stumbled across a bookbinding video on TikTok cringes at this part, but it was actually so satisfying. I ripped the front and the back covers off and then went in with these end papers that I just printed off on cardstock. It was just a random image that I found online. I turned it to landscape and then I printed it in black and white, and I went in with some pink watercolour on all of the flowers. I cut the end papers down to size and then I attached them to the front and the back pages of the book with the PVA glue that we are not sure whether or not it's acid free, but yours should be if you are doing this project. I then strengthened the spine of the book with this excess piece of fabric. I added these smaller pieces of fabric to the top and the bottom of the spine. I forget what these are called, but it's basically just to make it look pretty when you look at the book from the top. And then it was time for me to piece it all together. I went in with more of the PVA glue and I started with the back. I then did the same for the front cover, before pressing down on it with my entire body weight. Hi friends, it is the next day. I've had the book drying under a heavy pile of books so that everything dries flat. I did use quite a lot of glue, as you guys saw. My camera storage actually filled up at the point that the video stopped last night, which actually kind of worked out perfectly because I get to show you a grand reveal through a collection of aesthetically pleasing short clips that I filmed. I might even add some whimsical piano background music. I hope that maybe some of you give this a try. It might be a little bit of a daunting project to undertake, but once you have all your embroidery bits done, it'll only take you a day or two to get the rest of it assembled. I think this has to be one of my favourite parts of the whole project. The little surreal teacup sitting under the moon and stars. If you know, you know. And that brings us to the end of this video. I do plan on doing the rest of the ACOTAR series, as well as the Crescent City series. Who else is literally so excited for House of Flame and Shadow? I have a countdown on my phone, I'm counting down the hours. I also have some plans for the Ice Planet Barbarian series, which is one of my favourite series ever. If you've stuck around for this long, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to follow along and see more of my embroidered book creations, maybe hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you liked this video, or if you have any suggestions for other book series that I could potentially create embroidered covers for. I definitely have some interesting ideas for the rest of the ACOTAR series at least, and I'm super excited for you all to see them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all again in my next video. Bye!